Hey, this is Brad from Elevar, and in this video, I'm going to explain a little bit more about the problem that we solve and just customer data collection in general when it comes to Shopify or other e-commerce stores. So let's start with this fancy little graph here, or visual. And one thing that we like to start with is just making it very clear users are shopping. So, what we're talking about here is data collection when it comes to users that are shopping on the web. So, if we pop over here to one of our customer sites, let's say I'm on the Vessi product page and I select my size here and add to cart and proceed to checkout. That's what I mean when I'm referring to a user that is shopping or browsing a site and then ultimately proceeding to check out and hopefully in Vessi's case completing this purchase for a conversion. So that's what we mean about users browsing and activity on the site. Hopefully it's not too hard to grasp there. So when we start talking about our customer data collection, the the world that we live in today, which is continuing to evolve, is for each unique user that is browsing and shopping on the site, there for some sites there might be 3 to 5 different trackers that are running on the site, and some might have 30 to 50. But in general, if we focus on, I tried to bucket these in the common channels that you might be familiar with, but you're going to have your advertising channels. This is your Facebook pixel, your Google Ads, your marketing tag, Google Ads conversion tag, your TikTok tracking, and that could be other. That's Pinterest and really any other. There's hundreds of different channels out there that you might have tracking on today. The second part that I like to group things into is affiliate tracking. So affiliate tracking, some of the common ones here. You have Impact or Impact Radius, Rakuten, Grin for influencer marketing, and there's many others. ShareSale, Pepperjam, there, Everflow, etc. So these, just breaking these out in a little bit of a different manner, just to explain how this impact may work. And then third, we have our user activity tracking. So for most of us and most of you watching this, that is going to be Google Analytics. So Google Analytics, whether it's Universal or GA4, this type of tracking, while in some cases is just as important as third-party marketing, some would say more. I like to bucket this in a little bit of a different manner than our marketing channels. So that's again, we have users that are shopping the site, we have users activity that is shared with third-party services, and now we're moving into evaluating performance. So you might get the so what. So if we have this tracking set up on the site, what's the so what? So if it's there or not there, if it works or it doesn't work, why does that matter? Why does it matter for our customers? So now let's move over into evaluating performance. So let's start with our Facebook, Google Ads, TikTok conversion tracking first. So some of the questions that we get from new customers, existing customers, when they are evaluating performance, it's what's their cost per acquisition, what's their net profit on spend, what is their LTV per channel acquisition, are their remarketing audiences accurate, especially in the wave of the iOS 14 rollout, which impacted a lot of that across different channels. So that's another big thing, that in terms of data collection, it's not always just about conversions, it's also about your marketing audiences. And then when it comes to evaluating performance, the reason why those questions are being asked, it's not just to end at the, okay, our cost per acquisition is $20, our net profit is 30% or whatever it is. It's then to ultimately answer the next questions or help drive that next decision. So that is, okay, should we spend more on our best performing campaigns? Should we cut ads that are not selling or not performing? Do we need to move budget from Facebook to TikTok or Facebook to Snapchat? Do we need to hire a new Google Ads team or agency because Google Ads is underperforming? Do we need to build new lookalike audiences based on new event tracking that is set up to try to boost or improve our remarketing campaigns that we have across different channels? So that's a little bit of a overview on our channel breakdown. And I would also throw like Klaviyo and other trackers into this as well. So Klaviyo, obviously email, SMS, they are very highly reliant on accurate tracking going into their system as well. Next up, let's look at our affiliates and how that breaks down in the users that are browsing and shopping a site. We are tracking the different affiliates. And now let's move into the decision making that happens in this particular bucket. So one of the common questions, again, when it comes to affiliates, if with our customers that we hear And not that we're managing this for them. It really comes back to the tracking and why tracking is important to them. What affiliates are driving new customer acquisition? How can they scale affiliates to reduce total customer acquisition costs? Maybe because this is rising. What is the match rate for an affiliate sending a user to the site and then ultimately they convert? So if it's a low match rate where they are only tracking 20 to 30% of conversions, that can mean it's a low payout for the affiliate. And ultimately, if the affiliate isn't getting paid for their work and driving traffic, they're just going to stop driving traffic and they'll send it elsewhere so they get paid. So that leads into some of the questions here. So our top affiliates, are they going to continue to promote me? How can I scale the channel to more partners? And again, the main reason we're hearing with this is how to offset rising ad costs. And then the third bucket here, just focusing on Google Analytics, obviously a big part of what we do at Elevar. This one, there's an array of different questions, but if I were just to boil this down into a couple for this video, how are channels conversion rate, AOV, RPV, et cetera, revenue per visitor, how do they compare to one another? I think pretty much everyone that's in e-commerce is looking at their channel report, their source medium report, and doing some sort of decision making in their head if they're looking at a channel, whether it's bounce rate, conversion rate, AOV, whatever it might be. They're looking at those type of reports and using the standard metrics that come out of the box with GA and using that to make some sort of decision. How is their e-commerce funnel performing? So how are collection pages doing driving to product pages? How are product pages doing driving to add to cart? How about when people start checkout? How are people making their way through and completing the purchase? What sort of friction are they encountering? So that comes back to where Elevar gets involved in terms of behavior event tracking. So that's another big thing, is what behavior drives conversion. So it's not just about viewing a product and viewing add to cart metrics and viewing starting checkout. Everyone does that. It's not going to give you an edge. So you want to understand if someone's on a PDP, are they reading reviews? Are they watching videos? Are they looking at the size guide? Are they interacting with your FAQs? If they are, what's the conversion rate for those different interactions? If one is hurting conversion, do you get rid of it? Do you try to change it? If one is performing very well, like video, do you invest in producing more videos or making them more prominent? So that's what we mean in terms of behavior. So what behavior is driving conversions, so you can make decisions on how to further optimize the store. And that's where, when you have that data tracking in analytics, so the questions or the next decision point for our customers is, what A/B test should I implement? What content should we prep? So if you think about the homepage, what banners or feature blocks are performing better than others? How should my team merchandise across the store? So that's merchandising featured product blocks and our navigation on collection pages. Should we add new features to our PDP? So these are all aspects when tracking is going well. So if we think about just our customer data collection, that is how these different buckets are being impacted with our channels, with our affiliates, and ultimately with our Google Analytics tracking. So that could be it. So we have our customer data collection, not necessarily to be confused with a customer data platform. So this is just talking about how we are collecting data across a site. And there's many different ways that you can collect data, which I go into in future videos. But this is just a general overview on how we look at customer data collection. Now, before this video ends, I want to make a point that users that are shopping on the site, how do they get there? This is obvious for many, but I think it's good to show that this ultimately comes into a loop. So how do users actually reach the site? It's through ads, whether it's Google ads, whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok. They are reaching the site through ads. These ads need to be optimized. And yes, evaluating performance is critical when it comes to looking at your Facebook, TikTok, Google ads performance. But ultimately, the data that you are collecting on your site, or customers are collecting on their site, that data is fed back into these platforms. So their different machine learning algorithms, AI, any other buzzword you want to add into there, they rely on that data to then help they're trying to help you help them go find new customers. So when they are serving ads for a search on summer beach towels, they want to serve that ad to the person that has the highest probability to purchase. Same thing with TikTok, same thing with Facebook. So they really rely on the accurate data. So I just wanted to make that point here that it is really critical as part of the process of accurate data collection. It's not just to evaluate performance. Accurate data collection ultimately helps you help the platforms perform better for you. And let me just talk through that as an example. Let's say with Facebook, you stop sending add to cart events and initiate checkout events and purchase events. Facebook is not going to have data that they can ultimately tie back to users to go help them prospect and put your ads in front of new people to convert. At that point, they're just going to show it to anyone and hope that they ultimately get lucky and send the right people to the site. So that's when that happens. So when tracking is not accurate or falls off, that's when you generally will see cost per acquisition go up. Your profit inherently is going to go down. LTV, lifetime value per channel acquisition is going to go up, et cetera. So that's a little bit of the before. So when we look at our customer data collection, before we can even get to collecting that data, the ads need to be served to the right people to ultimately come to the site. And then we have one other aspect. So when we have the evaluating performance, so we collect the data, you or a customer's team, they might be evaluating within the different platforms, looking at Facebook Business Manager, looking directly in Google Analytics. However, we have many customers that they don't necessarily rely completely on just the platforms. They are then pulling all of this data into their BI platforms, their business intelligence platforms. So whether it's Looker, Redshift, Dacity, Rockerbox, Attribution, et cetera, these platforms rely on clean data. So if you have a mess of data collection, so if analytics is off by 40% and Facebook and AdWords conversions are significantly off, when you are trying to go into your Dacity reports or different Looker reports, you're going to be evaluating dirty data. So it is really critical that clean data in is going to get you clean data out in these reports. So that is another, as part of the whole ecosystem and life cycle of customer data collection. That's why it's so critical. So where we focus, where Elevar focuses, is ensuring this aspect. So the center aspect here, where the user's activity is collected and ultimately sent to the right channels with consent, et cetera, if needed. That's the problem that we are focused on. And that's where 95%, so ensuring that you have 95% accuracy for all these channels. So what happens when data collection goes wrong? If you've been in Facebook, you've probably seen the little warning symbol at some point. I have nightmares about it, it seems, over the last year or so with all the iOS changes. But in any case, when customer data collection goes wrong, let's just go through what happens there. So if data is not collected properly and there are issues, if we look at our Facebook and AdWords, so why are the questions that you are likely to get, or customers are likely to get, are why are top campaigns tanking? Are Google CPAs skyrocketed? Why is that happening? Remarketing campaigns are not producing results. Why is that happening? And then ultimately the decisions made in reaction to that, scaling back spend on Facebook. So going from $10,000 a day to $1,000 a day, pausing campaigns on Google Ads, contacting our agency to investigate ASAP, whether it's us, a dev agency, a marketing agency, et cetera. So going to contact them, which inherently is going to put everything on hold. So at that point, that is, once the bleeding is stopped in terms of skyrocketing CPAs, it still costs our customers and can cost you money, where at that point your new customer acquisition is on hold. So the opportunity cost is down. So the opportunity cost is, if you're typically acquiring 200 new customers per day, and you scale back, if that goes down to 20, what does that mean in terms of dollars and LTV? When it comes to affiliates, so if traffic is down 50% from affiliates, what is the overall impact to revenue? How is that impacting the bottom line? And essentially, what we see happen next is needing to get in touch with an affiliate partner to smooth things over and work with the whoever's managing the tags and the pixels on a site to go through and test and validate that everything is reporting properly. And then just the time suck of having to manually reconcile our reports. So if affiliates are still sending traffic and it's just the conversion tracking is broken, then someone has to go through typically to manually pull orders from Shopify and send that to the affiliate platform to ensure there's a way to keep those payouts continuing out to the affiliates. And then last but not least, with Google Analytics, what reports can I trust? So this is really the core of many business owners and marketers that are utilizing Google Analytics. You want to go in there, you want to evaluate data, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours. What can you trust? How is this impacting other team members? Typically, if GA is dirty data and isn't answering the questions, then usually the question or what we see next is, what tools do I need to use to replace GA because GA is not accurate? Our opinion, that's not the right question to ask. It's, how can I get my Google Analytics accurate and live in GA versus trying to find a band-aid to fix it? Because if you can't have accurate data inside of GA on a consistent basis, the likelihood of implementing another tool and have that consistent over time is very low. Decisions made when GA data is not accurate, there's a host of them, but in general, if we focus on some CRO type of items, conversion rate optimization, so A/B testing is on hold until data fixed because we don't know what we're evaluating. I'm unsure where to direct the team, so where do we need to be making changes? And then making changes to the site without knowing the impact. So this is adding new features, adding new bells and whistles, but not knowing if it's impacting conversion in a positive or negative manner. So that's a little bit about the problem that Elevar is solving with respect to customer data collection. It spans across a host of different platforms. So when everything is functioning properly, this is what we like to see, where everything could be green and performance, but the majority of time is spent on strategizing, working through new creative, etc., versus when things are going awry, a lot of time is spent trying to CYA cover, fix things, etc. So you can see the decisions made here when tracking is inaccurate is significantly different than the strategizing and optimizing that's happening here. So I hope this was helpful. Look forward to you checking out our next video. Thanks.